To the cloud. Hey, everybody. It's Tuesday again. Here you are at the weekly community meeting for Chaos. It's March 4th. We're into March already. I don't know how that actually happened, but actually, it's been really long. It's been a long year. So I'm surprised it's not,
It's
longer.
March.
Anyway, yeah, let me share. Here we go. If you haven't told us where you're taking your next vacation or holiday, that would be great. Matt, I don't know if Cincinnati counts as a like your vacation though.
Sure it
You
does.
know.
I get Skyline chili.
Yeah, there you go. Do you like it?
No.
What do you mean no? It's
I
delicious.
gave I gave Ruth a packet of the chili seasoning when I saw her in Europe, and so yeah, I'm like, you'll either love this or hate this. You'll probably think it's the most disgusting thing you've ever eaten in your life,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's an acquired taste. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. If somebody can just do me a favor and watch the chat in case we get people coming in that need the minutes, that would be great. If you could just drop them in there for me, that'd be awesome. Okay, so the first thing on our list is that in case you didn't know, we are part of the GSOC program this year. CHAOSS is listed as one of the participating companies or projects, I guess. But all the project ideas are centered on Augur, so it's not technically like a project-wide thing. It's very laser focused on Augur specifically. Heads up, we've had almost 80 people join in the last several days, so it would be great if we could do like a community effort to just help welcome everybody and help them find their way. I have been getting some questions on my end, which is totally fine, but if
Well,
you do get questions, just you know the drill. Just be as kind as you can be, and as welcoming as you can be, and help everybody find their way. That would be great. Because yeah, it's like usually Mary Blessing, myself, Peculiar probably gets some as well. So so it'd be great to help spread that out a little bit. So
wow.
that's that.
So so we did that with the idea of figuring out if GSOC was going to work because we haven't done it in like 3 years because the last time was not a great experience for us. So that's both great and fascinating that the turnout is so high.
So
Yeah. So
our
It's
only
oh,
really
go ahead, Matt.
our only project is an Augur project, is that right?
those are the ones that are defined right now. I'm of course open to others, but really the whole idea was just, hey, let's see if GSOC is working this year. This is that is a much larger turnout than we ever got in the first few days before. So I will jump on that since this was my idea as well.
Yeah,
Well,
I
I
was
think we're pointing most people into your channel, into the Augur channel
Excellent.
anyway. So yeah, you might
Excellent.
see it.
Yeah.
you might want to take a look at the ideas, not the process, because it looks like these are recycled.
They absolutely are reconfigurations of ones
Okay.
that have been done before. And I was candid with Google about that, and they were fine with it. So,
Um, but like I'm on there and I don't
really?
yeah, I see
I
my
thought I,
name.
oh, that would be a mistake that Sean made. I will take a look at that, Matt.
Okay. I mean, like, are you running all three of these projects if people have an interest in them, or like do
No, I have other people that are volunteering on the projects, and I thought I configured that correctly through the Google portal. So, like, I thought I removed all of the old names and stuff. So now I've got to go
okay.
figure out what did I miss. This would be clearly I missed something, so I will address that right away.
Um,
Sean, the process is still what it has been, though, in the past of this right here. That's still the process, though, right? And people need to add their names here.
Yeah, hang on. I have to make that screen bigger. Yes, it looks like I'm trying to see their URL. Stop it.
I can drop it in the chat
Yep,
too.
yep, that's it.
Okay.
That's it. So, all right. I'll fix this while we're meeting.
And then is Grimoire Lab part of this? Because I saw them, they were listed as a also on that ideas page. They were like a tools providing the metric.
Yeah, that was just that was just in the interest of like providing this. I can take them off, but I wanted to be candid with people about what the full tool set available through the CHAOSS project is. So
Because
I didn't want to just,
it says mentors Sean and Daniel.
I mean, I just,
oh my God. Yep,
we didn't
you're
talk.
right.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, until I started getting messages
Switch.
on Slack. Hey, I found the Google
Oh my God. Well,
Summer of Code profile. I didn't even know that we had it.
here I am. Oh, here I am causing problems. And I'm having a great
We
morning.
probably should have talked about this as a community before we applied as a community. I mean, I don't recall having a conversation about this earlier.
I don't remember that either.
Okay, well, for the time being, while Sean kind of fixes that doc and cleans that up a little bit, yeah, just keep an eye out for newcomers. Point them to the Augur channel when they have questions, and that's there'll be a larger community there to help out.
But like this, I think we should have talked about this earlier. That's my take. Instead of like, I didn't even know this happened. Like, Sean,
Yeah.
I think we should have talked about this earlier. Like, this is chaos. Like, if this is just a project for you, that's maybe a little different, but like just for Augur. But I just don't recall talking about this at all as a chaos application.
Okay.
I mean, did the Augur community talk about it? Maybe that was where the conversations happened.
We did. We did.
Okay, well, maybe we see how it goes this time, and maybe we can take at the end. We can do like a retro, and really figure out if this is something that we want to do again or not. So yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
basically the idea that we were pursuing there, is just to see if there's been improvements in the program, and that if the process goes better than it did after we decided to stop doing it 3 years ago. It's just an evaluation step, really.
My concern is that the Google process is very light on the Google side, and most of the work is pushed off to the communities, from collecting the ideas, putting a process together, welcoming newcomers, getting them onboarded, doing the community engagement phase, then helping with writing the proposals, evaluating the candidates, choosing who goes. There's a lot of administrative overhead for Google Summer of Code that Google does not manage at all. All of the challenges are with the way that we organize as a community. And right now, my impression is that we are not organized as a community, that we don't have that set up where we are prepared to take that influx of people and guide them through the process. Maybe that's just my side of the CHAOSS project that I'm engaged with, and maybe there is a different part, but from what I'm hearing, it's not a community effort right now. And so I anticipate that, like Matt said, this is going to be more chaos because we didn't prepare.
Yeah, so I think I would say that we did prepare and we are prepared. And it's an experiment to see if it works out. Now I'm happy to remove us from the program if people are concerned about it. The Augur community is ready to put this together and make it happen and see if it works. And that's, it had been a very productive part of the community for a number of years. 3 years ago, coming out of the pandemic, it didn't work so great. We're trying to see if it works better now. And I feel like we're ready. Augur's part of the community, but if folks feel differently, I'm certainly happy to, pull back from the effort.
Well, maybe if Augur is like ready to like do this, like I'm wondering on the list of projects that you have, like are there ones that are most topical for like what you all talked about in Augur to just focus in on those? You know what I mean?
Of the three, do you mean?
Yeah, like maybe just one or two.
Yeah,
I don't
I
think
mean,
Google requires at least 3.
Do they?
Was kind of the
we'd actually started with one and then they were like, well, you need 3. So, I mean, but we said that we were only going to sponsor a single, person.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I guess that was another question. Yeah, like how many
yeah,
people?
so it's one. I mean, the whole idea is just to really, it's just like we had as a community, we had kind of a rough experience back in 2022 when we decided not to uh, persist with it. And the Augur community thought, well, we're looking for maintainers and let's see if GSOC is going to help us this time. But I mean, I don't think there was, my experience from the last time as a member of the community then is that it went kind of not great. And so we wanted to see if it's, kind of like adjusted or reached kind of a level since then. So, because
Yeah, I
if it
think
is, it's a useful group to bring back into the community. It's a useful program if it's, kind of recovered from the post-pandemic blah that affected it. And we won't know unless we try. That was kind of our philosophy from an Augur perspective.
yeah, I think my memory of the overhead was like the number of people who expressed an interest in trying to figure it out. And then if I recall, we had to like figure out who would like work on the projects. And then if I recall, like we didn't have a good sense that people necessarily stuck around after the project. So it was like a lot of a lot of work.
Yeah, well, and that's why I think the Augur community was really, willing to try it again is because, or the Augur part of the community, because we did have a number of people before 2022 who did stick with it and made contributions going years into the future. So like we have probably, 6 or 7 of the GSAC students from before 2022 who continued for the project for more than a year afterwards. So we had some good luck with the Augur projects in the past. It's just in 2022, we had a lot of, and I think you all remember, there's just students at that point or the participants at that point were, they obviously had other jobs. So there was a lot of multitasking, uncommitted or vaguely committed time from the participants. And so, we provided that feedback at the end of 2022, and then we've kind of stepped out of it. Now, we're 3 years on from the, I would call it the post-pandemic adjustment. Let's try it. And it was the season of docs and the outreachy programs that really generated a lot more overhead for it. The GSOC program, like if there's 80 people that have joined since then, that's way higher than it had been in the past for GSOC. GSOC usually amounted to like 30 people at the most getting engaged. So that's it's good for the fact that they're promoting it, and we'll have to address the scale.
So are the mentors, is it John, I'm guessing?
Mm-hmm. John, Andrew, Isaac.
Okay. Is Callie part of it? Because I saw that there was 8 not stuff there too, or maybe not front end stuff.
Callie is not part of it officially. Though
So
she's
then,
always willing to help.
okay. So then process wise, would it make sense as people join to encourage them, like what's on the minutes right there? The Augur 8 not channel? Is that the place
Yeah,
to
I think that's absolutely the place. And so yes, that's 100% the place. I am. Yeah.
is that in the go to the process, that document, Elizabeth? Yeah. Maybe, oh, it's in there. Okay. Okay. And so then Sean would like John or whomever kind of monitored this page as well.
Yeah. John's going to be monitoring this page, and candidly, that's something that we were going to talk about tonight. I had a little bit of a down day yesterday, but I didn't realize we'd had that many people, like 80 people join the community. Like somehow
Okay.
I missed that. I missed that explosion yesterday or whenever it occurred, because I think they launched the program Monday.
Okay. Could you and I don't know if John's the person, encourage him to
Yep.
like kind of watch the general channel too?
I will.
We'll have
I'll,
asking
yep.
questions
And the
there.
newcomers channel. So the newcomers channel has been pretty hot last couple of days.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I've been pretty hot the last couple of days, but for wholly different reasons. So I will catch up with that.
Thanks.
All right. Well, I'm happy for the Augur community to do this.
Well, and it's definitely a step for the whole community to figure out, is this a thing that works again? And if it does, then we have next year to, we can invest more in it. But this is really we're evaluating the program right now and seeing if it's going to work again.
Yeah, thank you for taking the lead on this.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna move on just because we do have other stuff on the agenda and I want to make sure we have enough time, especially for Cooper's presentation. So in all of the newcomers coming, you might have seen in Slack there are quite several broken links and some outdated information in our Slack bot, the newbie bot. So looking for some volunteers to kind of take a look at that, refresh it. It's got great documentation that goes with it, which I'm just like, this is so good. I love it. It's like my favorite thing about the whole documentation. Like it's pretty solid. So yeah, so you'll be well supported if that's something that you want to jump into. Yeah. Is Adinka on this call? Adinka, sorry to put you on the spot. Quick question. Do you know, or do you know who is kind of running that project? Do we have anyone active that's kind of running that project? Sorry to put you on the spot. And if you are not sure, that's totally fine. And if it's you, that's awesome.
Okay. Hello, Elizabeth and everyone. The Slack bot, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. So Precious Abubakar, one of us, is the maintainer for the project.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if someone wants to work on this, should they reach out to you or Precious, or where would be the place for them to connect with? those folks?
Usually, once anyone comments on the repo, Precious usually replies.
So maybe just like have them fill out an issue or something that says, hey, I want to.
Yes, yeah. So create an issue and asks to be assigned, and then Precious comes in and assign it to you.
Okay, okay. So I've been mistakenly asking people to put these in the website because I thought they were coming from the website, but I realized this morning they're actually coming from the Slack bot. So I'm going to start, if there are broken links, point people to this repo, not the website repo. And then also indicate on an issue if you would like to help fix things. I feel like it kind of just needs like a refresh, so there are some broken links, but there is I think there's some outdated information and not complete information because we have some new working groups that aren't listed and things like that. So yeah, I don't know if somebody wants to take that as a task to just do a whole refresh of the whole thing and like create those issues. I don't know. Is that something that Precious would want to do at Inca, or would you want to do that, or who would be the best person to do that? I mean, I can also do it, but I don't want to take that away from somebody if they want to.
Do you mean creating the issues?
Yeah, just kind of looking through what the responses are, making sure that they're accurate, because I feel like there's some outdated information because it's been a while since that was created.
So I think Precious does a good job in doing that. So I can always reach out to her
Okay.
to discuss what we have just said in this meeting so that she can take it up. I'm not sure she's
Okay.
on the call.
Yeah, and it may be totally fine. I just kind of had a feeling that maybe there was some outdated information just because we do have some new stuff and things have kind of changed. Things change quickly here. So yes, thank you so much for that. That would be awesome. And especially since we have, newcomers coming, really using that Slack bot a lot. So we want to just make sure it's all cool and good. So thank you. Also, thank you for this awesome documentation. That's like one of my favorite things in CHAOSS is the documentation for our Slack bot. I love it so much. Any other questions, comments, anything on this? I do love our Slack bot. And in case you didn't know, other projects have taken our Slack bot and made it their own and then forked it and made it their own. So that's how awesome it is. Okay. Oh, yeah, Sean, you got a question.
On the subject of automation, while we're there, I saw that you mentioned in the chat recently about the registering bot or the GitHub action that we have for people who don't make code contributions but want to be added to that form. And I'm just wondering, is that still working okay? As far as you know?
Yeah, I think so. I did see something come through the
Okay,
day that
good.
it was, the day that it like sends out that reminder, somebody sent something through. So yeah, I think it's working great. And it all
Okay.
does it magically. Like I didn't have to merge any PRs or anything. It worked perfectly.
Awesome. I just since we were checking on the tech that we use to welcome people, I thought I'd ask about that because I'm sort of responsible for that one as well.
Yep.
All
It
right.
works great.
Awesome.
So
Good.
yay. Okay, any final things before we turn this over to Cooper to do a quick presentation on wisdom? Cooper, you're still here, right? Yes, there you are. Okay. All right, I'm going to stop sharing so Cooper can share. There we go. And take it away, Cooper.
Cool, thank you. Hello, and yeah, apologies for my internet. I was kind of messing around with a bunch of the stuff, so I didn't get to say hi everyone. But nice to meet you all. And um, I've only just discovered this group, and what I've seen looks absolutely amazing. So I'm really great to connect with you all. Pleased to connect with you all and share what we've been doing. So let me just share screen. Should be coming through now. Is that all good?
All good.
Cool. Yeah, so I'm gonna from the outset say that the name is in the process of changing. but let's just call it wisdom for this presentation. We're thinking like to call it meta evaluation, but basically this is an attempt to allow communities to value contributions in an autonomous way. And it's a project that I've been leading towards in my work in the open science space for probably around the last 6 years, trying different solutions, testing them out, and then we've got to the point where we've got a really neat model and they're building an app. And so, yeah, I just want to take you through the model, the background, some of the data very briefly, and then I guess we can see what everybody thinks. So yeah, my background is in academia. I think probably many of you know that there's similar problems there as we see in the open source space, where the good work like open science is not actually being supported in the ways that it should. And so I'm a big believer in looking for systemic solutions. We can't just tap around the edges. We really need to try and find a model that makes the old model obsolete and disrupts it. And so the basic premise for this project is to try and create a system that can reliably quantify the value of literally any contribution to a community while also incentivizing engagement. And the idea is that if we can quantify value across ideas, actions, resources, all contributions, then we can automatically reward people for the value they create. And this then incentivizes people to keep on giving to the community and beyond. And so in my years in open science work, I spent the first 3 years campaigning, trying to herd cats, and basically came to, well, I learned a lot of lessons through that process, but the main lesson that I learned is that we really need to be recognizing the value of evaluations themselves, because without that, we can't figure out what things are worth. But then you have this problem of infinite recursion because somebody needs to review the reviews, and then somebody needs to review the meta reviews, and so on. And so what I'm going to present is a really simple model that I think takes a step towards solving this problem while remaining experimentally controlled, flexible to different contribution types, and really simple so that everybody in the community can engage with the process. And so the basic evaluation process is just pairwise comparison. We just give someone 2 contributions to compare and ask them to tell us which is more valuable on some dimension of interest. And then the unique thing that we do is that we recognize the value of those pairwise comparisons themselves. We include those in the set of contributions to be reviewed, and we review them just like everything else. So this is what I'm calling in this slide like a meta review. And so here it's the same interface. You've got 2 things you're comparing. One of them is a regular contribution, like a piece of code, but the other one is some number of these reviews themselves. So imagine that somebody has done 100 of these pairwise comparisons, compare that as an energetic input to this piece of code. And the main point I want to make is that these 2 really simple processes are literally all we need to then create an automatic valuation for every single contribution that's gone into this system. So I'll show you how that works in the next slide, but this is just to show how we got where we are. I was pitching these ideas in academia, and I realized that it's actually not a very safe or dynamic space to prototype. So I left temporarily. We started hosting Burning Man style festivals, and that was where we prototyped, iterating on the models. We got to this really neat model, and then we took that data to an open science conference in Australia called AMOS, and that then prompted a new prototype where we used the same model to now value contributions to that conference itself. And so that's what this is. It was a conference of 82 people in November of 2023. We sent out a survey afterwards, and we asked people to tell us what they valued, like contributions that they appreciated. We got a really diverse representation. So the talks that people gave, the admin in the background, but really like abstract soft contributions like this person who balanced attendance at discussion groups. And so then once we collected this list of contributions, we also asked people to nominate some dimensions that they thought aligned with the values of the community. And so we ended up with 6 dimensions: gratitude, generosity, inclusivity, transparency, integrity, and creativity. And then the experiment began. So we conducted reviews on a subsample of these contributions. We paired, we balanced all the pairings. So basically every contribution got compared to every other contribution. And as you can see on the bottom, we're just using spreadsheets, but we just give someone 2 contributions, A and B, and ask them to tell us which is more valuable on the dimension of generosity, inclusivity, and so on. And once we've done that, then we move into this meta review phase. And so this is where we throw in some of these review contributions, like 400 pairwise comparisons. And again, we balance everything and just ask everybody to do all these comparisons again. And what this gives us then is this data set. And what I'm showing here in the blue dots are the number of votes that the review contributions received. And what we can do then is basically fit a baseline. So we just fit this function, which is the blue line, to those large blue dots. And then we use that to interpolate a value for all of the other contributions based on the votes that they received. So those are the black dots. And what you end up with then, because you can do this across multiple dimensions, is a multi-dimensional representation of the unique qualities of every single contribution. And so that's what I'm showing here. This is like a radar plot where each axis is one of the dimensions that we measured. And the colored lines are the scores that each contribution got on all of those dimensions. And what I'm including here, and I really should, but this is an older slide, is the fact that the people who did the evaluations also get a score. So those reviews that people conducted were also rewarded with points within this system. And this is really the payoff, because once you've got this data set, you can do anything. As I'm sure you guys understand, like knowing what little I do about what you do, like this is a treasure trove of data that we can filter in all kinds of interesting, exciting ways. And you can pull out gratitude per contributor. You can look at people's profiles of contributions. You can look at different kind of categories, however the data is tagged, and so on. And you can also look at people's reliability. So you get a really rich representation of what people prefer, how reliable they are at doing this task. Actually, what I'm showing there is like retest reliability, because what I didn't mention is that we presented A versus B, but we also presented B versus A. And so then what I'm plotting here is just whether somebody gave the same response when they were presented with the same comparison in a different order. And yeah, this is just kind of going one layer deep. Like we're pretty limited in what we could do with this just spreadsheet. But I took this sort of subsample of contributions that we'd reviewed and then extrapolated that for all 166 contributions that we identified for the conference. And this gives us this complete representation of the value that's gone in and out of this conference. And once you've got that, you can do really cool stuff. Like you can look at the net gratitude for particular contributions versus the money that was spent on them, for example. And so you can see that some contributions were like net positive for the community, some were net negative, and then others were really net negative, which probably could suggest that they were just terrible presentations and they weren't actually appreciated, or what I think, we've missed some of the value that these people created. And so the point here is that this is like an ongoing dynamic meta research paradigm where we can collect data, we can interrogate it, and we can start to learn about what gaps we're missing. And then in the next iteration, we can try and fill those gaps. So we can internalize the externalities that we've missed through this process. And so the idea then is that once you've got this data set, you can then turn it into an automatic reward system if you want to. And so this is just a proof of concept for that. Basically, what I'm doing is just adding up all of the value that somebody's added across all of their contributions. And I guess the point I made for this presentation, because this is presenting the data back to this community, is that the president, Adrian, did an order of magnitude work more than everybody else. And one of the benefits of this system is that it can bring that effort to light, so that we can then start to try and decentralize those tasks next time, so that more people are taking more of the share, and this is becoming a more collaborative process. And obviously, if you've got data on particular project tags and that sort of thing, then this can become a direct way that funders could drop money in, and literally just using the metrics that we've created completely autonomously, we can then distribute that money directly to those contributors, incentivizing them to keep on giving. So that's kind of how it's works for one community. We've now done this with, I think, 6 communities, just showing that it can adapt to different contexts. We've done it across the arts, science, tech, decentralized community sectors. And the real key of this system is not just that it helps one community organize, but it does so in an interoperable manner, so that the metrics that are produced can be compared and exchanged across different communities. And so the idea is that we can keep iterating at AMOS can keep iterating, different communities can keep iterating on this model. And as long as we're using the same fundamental mechanics, then we can start to learn from one another, exchange value. And what this gives us then is common pathways on the dimensions that we align on to exchange value and appreciate and recognize one another's contributions. And yeah, so that's kind of that's where we're at. I wish I'd had time to update this slide, but basically these are the communities that we prototyped with already, and we're now building an MVP. It's been a journey to get here. We're actually on our second version. The first one kind of stalled, and then we got a new pulse of energy through some of these presentations I gave last year. And we've got a really great team. There's 5 developers. We've been meeting every week for the last 4 or 5 months. And we've taken a really slow and steady process to make sure that all of our design documents are all collaboratively written and everybody's on the same page about what we're building. And so we've broken ground and we are building now. And what we really could use support on right now is in front-end support, but basically any support would be absolutely welcome and very much appreciated. And our goal is once we've got the MVP, that will enable us to process a whole lot more data than what we can do in spreadsheets. And so we've been keeping record of all the contributions to date. And so the idea is that we'll kind of go back through that data set and use our app to start valuing all of those contributions. And then we've got a little bit of money in our charity already that is earmarked to then distribute to contributors to recognize kind of retrospectively the value that they've provided. And hopefully that will then demonstrate that we can create a virtuous cycle and incentivize more people to donate some money. Yeah, so that's where we're at, and would love to hear what everybody thinks. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Cooper. Could you like give me an example from one of these communities? Oh, I'm sorry, Sean. Did you have your hand up?
No, I just raised my hand to
Okay.
participate next. You go.
Okay. Could you give an example of like a lot of this seemed kind of high level, and I don't like kind of from start to finish briefly, just a really like pragmatic example of how this was used in a community.
Does the conference example work?
Yeah, maybe. So in that example, is it about like setting up the conference and how we recognize people and their work in that?
It was all kinds of contributions. So we included setting up the conference, so pre-planning work, the admin that went into it, the booking of the rooms, the setting up the audio visual equipment, all of that stuff. We also included the presentations that people gave, all of the interactions during the conference, so everything that was on the schedule, along with everything that people nominated via the form. So that could be anything that people nominated that wasn't already on the schedule. And this is like a subset of some of those contributions that we reviewed. So you can see that this one was like dry run of conference venue. So somebody went to the conference venue and spent an hour checking that all the AV equipment worked. This was like a meeting with lawyers at the QT staff, clearing food and plates. Like the
So
idea that
how do I
sorry, yeah.
how do I so if I'm looking at this graph, like what do I understand? So like dry run of conference venue, so I can see it mapped on the left there. Like what does that,
So each
tell
one
us?
of these lines is one contribution that has been maybe I'll show you the actual prototype. That might be like a direct way to show you an example. But each one of those colored lines is one contribution that has been described, and it has a title, it's got a description. So it's got a contributor, it's got a title, so dry run of conference event venue. It's got the description says went to conference venue to do a dry run of all systems, Zoom, furniture, etc. Duration, so 100 minutes. Got like a topic, and then that was the information that was presented to people that people evaluated. So this is really just a proof of concept. It's not a very detailed description, but you could imagine that could be more detailed if there were links to say a code commit or more information. And what this is showing then is a radar plot. So each one of these colored lines is one contribution, and the point at it where it meets on each of these axes is the score that it got. So if we just take that meeting with QT staff, as an example, you can see that it scored really highly on gratitude, quite highly on generosity, but people didn't think it was very creative and they didn't think it was very inclusive for whatever reason. And so this is giving a kind of rich representation of each contribution on the 6 dimensions that we measured in relative terms. So basically everything's scaled against one another. Does that answer your question? Does that make sense?
Thanks. And Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, my question was really just around what, like, I'm not totally familiar with all the acronyms, and so that's one question. And then the second one is, have you worked at all with Jonathan Starr, who's doing some work with academic or research projects in the NumPy Foundation? Have you heard of what he's doing? I guess.
No, the second one's easy to answer. I've never heard of him.
All right.
Would
We
love
can
to
make that
find out.
connection
Yeah,
for you.
please.
Yeah, and then I
Yeah,
was
that would
just
be
curious
great.
about the acronyms and what they're connected to organizationally for where you did the dry runs, because I'm just not familiar with, I'll say, Wisdom or Amos.
Gotcha. Yeah. So AMOS stands for the Association for the Interdisciplinary Science Study of Meta Science and Open Science.
Okay,
It's a mouthful. That's why they call it AMOS, but it's an open science
it's much
and
better.
research conference. So they have a weekly meeting and like occasionally do sort of activities in between. QUT is just the Queensland University of TAFE, which is in Australia. And that's where AMOS was hosted for that year. And Wisdom is an outdated acronym that stands for something way too long, and that's why we're going to meta-evaluation.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks for the question. Elizabeth, you've got your hand up.
I have 2 quick questions. I know we're almost out of time, but so the first question is, so when you generated this list of contributions, was that something that you all came up with yourselves, or did you just take what was given to you from your survey?
Yeah, so for this one we went through a 2-step process. So we sent out a survey and people nominated anything that they wanted. The president themselves actually sent through their checklist of all the stuff that they'd done. So that's these gray boxes. And then all these other ones are all nominations that people gave. And so we ended up with a list of 55 things to filter through. And what we then did was, we did a bit of pre-processing to whittle it down, because basically that was way too many contributions for the sake of spreadsheet. And so we tried to select a kind of representative sample, basically. So we whittled those 55 down to 24 and tried to keep a kind of range of different scales of contributions. And we tried to select one from everybody who had been nominated for something, and then, tried to kind of balance. But that was just our ad hoc process to try and, select from the major set. And then the other thing that we did was, once we'd done that analysis, we then extrapolated to all of the contributions. So that was then when I mentioned before that there was 166 contributions. So there's a ridiculously big spreadsheet in here that basically shows all 166 contributions across everything from the schedule to like the reviews that people did to the fees that people paid. Any contribution, basically everything that we could identify across ideas, action, money, everything. And then these are all the scores that everything got, and you can, feel free to. Would love for people to check out this data set, because barely anyone has.
Yeah. I do have more questions, but I'll probably just ping you on Slack, because to Don's point, we do have one more item. We only have 2 more minutes. So thank you so much. That was amazing. This is super fascinating to me personally as a community manager. I'm sure it was fascinating for others as well, just because we care about metrics and trying to measure things. So thank you very much, Cooper. And again, I'll just reach out to you on Slack.
Absolutely. Yeah. Any questions? I'd love to have a chat. And thank you. Thanks, all.
Okay. I'm guessing David, you put this on here?
I'm sorry I even put it, because I just want to hear more from Cooper. That was really cool. We'll talk about this tomorrow at the UN SDG working group. But we had a really cool hackathon. I want to let people know that Remy DeCosmaker and his team at CMS created this CHAOSS UN SDG form site project. We had a bunch of the students push some things along and make a lot of progress on it. They're going to present, one of the teams is going to present what they did tomorrow. So just look forward to that. And yeah, Remy's doing amazing work, and he's linking everything that he can into CHAOSS. And so it's really cool stuff.
That's very true. He's kicking it.
If you're not on the UN SDG Slack channel, you should subscribe just so you can see the picture of David and Remy together.
It's true. It's a good shot.
We were there all weekend. We had such a good time. There's 150 students, and they stayed up all night. We did not stay up all night, but it was,
God,
it was my
be
first
young.
hackathon. It was awesome.
To be
Great presentation, Cooper. Thank you so much. That's really cool stuff. I'm doing a conference in March, and I'm like, can I somehow get this in as like feedback at the end of the conference? But I'm intimidated. It looks like I don't know how you do it without like just terrifying all of the attendees with a giant survey.
Yeah, I mean, our strategy will be to give them a very fun, user-friendly app where they're just tapping AB, 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 B. What terrifies people right now is spreadsheets, and so we're desperate to get out of spreadsheets, and that's where we could really, really, really use some support, because basically this will happen as soon as we can get it out the door, and then we can just start handing it to communities and collecting lots of data and learning lots more about how it works. But yeah, I think that's the goal, and I think it'll be a lot more fun when it's just tapping buttons, because then it becomes a game, and people can start playing the game. And the cool thing is that the incentives for winning the game are completely aligned with the community, because winning the game means adding data, and data is great for the community. So it's basically win-win is the idea. Until somebody beats us, and then we fix that.
I love that. Gamify it.
Yes.
Super cool.
Thank you.
Okay, before we wrap up, I just want to bring this to everybody's attention. You can see the reminders here about upcoming conferences, but we do have daylight saving here in the States, which is what this meeting is tied to, US Central Chicago time. So next week, if you're in a place that does not do daylight saving, or you haven't done it yet, this meeting will be different for you. So just keep up with the CHAOSS calendar. We'll put reminders in the Slack, of course, but yeah, that happens this weekend. So next week is when, all everything gets messed up. So, so yeah, just keep that in mind, everybody. I just want to make sure you knew that. And then again, here's some reminders about upcoming CFPs. We do have some tickets left for Scale. If you happen to be out in California, you want to go, I have plenty. So just let me know. But otherwise, I think that's it. So it will be daylight savings to me too, Matt. I don't care what the proper one. I'm trying to be proper, and it just sounds weird, and I don't like it. So
Listening to
I
you
don't
say
think
daylight saving.
What's
right.
it's not. It is. Is it plural or not?
No,
It's not
just,
plural,
it's called daylight saving.
but we pluralize it.
Not when I say it.
So you're the proper. I
Uh,
can't do it's weird. All right.
okay.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate you all. Have a great rest of your day, rest of your week, and we'll see you here this time next week. Bye, everybody. Thanks again, Cooper, for that presentation. That was awesome.